Alright, hello once again, Jeff Scott from Jeff Teaches Programming. In the last video we began creating the JavaScript version of our calculator, which we are eventually going to turn into a TypeScript calculator. And I added the HTML, but I did want to make two additions. And that is in here, where we've got this expression and result, I'm going to come in and I'm going to also say class equals expression, and in here I'm going to also say class equals result. Now you might ask yourself, well, why are you doing that? Which would be a fair enough question. All right. Well, really, having both the ID and the class with the same name serves two different purposes. The ID is when you're using JavaScript targeting. So when we use the document.getElementById, all right? On the other hand, the class is typically going to be used here for the CSS styling. Now, could you just use one? The answer is yes. We could have just the ID, all right? So, why not just use one or the other? You could target them both, but there's good reasons to keep them separate. IDs have very high what's called specificity. They're harder to override, which makes them better for theming and whatever. Classes are more reusable. We talked about this. You can only have an ID on the same page, the same ID once, where classes you can use in multiple places. All right, so classes are more reusable. JavaScript basically owns IDs where CS basically owns classes. So bottom line is there's no technical reason that you can't have both. There's no real reason to have both. It's usually just done because, again, the JavaScript handles the ID and the class is typically used for CSS. And keeping them separate, all right, typically makes it easier to maintain and extend programs. It's not going to look any different. So if I save this and we run it again, if you remember what it looked like at the end of the last one, it doesn't look any different, not at all. So let's come in and start making it look different by adding some CSS for this. All right. First thing we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of reset type of stuff. We've talked about this before. So I'm going to put in here star, and I'm going to say box sizing, border box. And again, what that does is it makes sure that it includes borders, padding, and margin when we're figuring out the size of something. All right, for now, we're going to remove the margin by saying margin 0 and padding 0. All right, so that's just the start. Now, for our body, let's set a background color. Again, I like to put this on a separate line. You don't have to do that, of course. So the background color, let's make it, I don't know, F0, F0, F0. Okay, which is kind of a whitish gray. Minimum height, we want it to take up the whole screen. So 100 VH, display flex, align item center, justify content center, and we'll use the font family we've been using, which is Arial, etc. Whoa, what the heck did that put? Let's go back here. Oh, I'm not sure what happened there. So Arial, here we go. Now, did that do anything? Let's take a look. Let's go back to here. Okay, put it in the middle of the screen. But other than that, not too much. I don't know why I got the word index in there, but I do. So we'll see if we can figure that out in just a minute. Let's go back to our HTML here. Okay, it's the only place we're using it. Why do we have the word index there? I don't know. Let's save that. And let's run it again. Oh, we still got the other one going. You know what? With the other one still going like this, we can just refresh. There. All right. Still not really looking like a calculator, though, and that's okay. So let's go into our CSS here. And remember, we've got here class of calculator and class of calculator display, an ID of expression, and an ID of results. So let's take a look at those now. All right, we've got a class of calculator, so dot calculator. Let's give it a background. And let's use a little darker gray there. Let's make it a little bit rounded. Okay, let's take a look and see what that did. Okay, not too much right now. Okay, but you can see it's starting to take shape. No pun intended, a little bit though. All right, that was the calculator. Let's do our display. Make that white. Okay, let's see what we did there. Now we just did our display. All right, we'll do it again after we do the expression of the results. So, File, Save All. Not too much difference right now. When we do the keypad in just a bit, that's when you're really going to start to see it look different. All right, rather than ring it again, let's do the result. bigger. All right, let's see what that did. Again, it's going to really start to take shape when we do the keypad in just a bit. Okay, still not really looking very different. All right, so let's do the keypad. And the buttons. You can really see a difference now because we set this up to display as a grid. There. Now it's looking more like a calculator. See, we've got it in 4 rows, etc. Again, still not perfect, but it's getting there. Now for the button class itself. Let's make them a little bit rounded. All right, we don't have too much to go, so I'm just going to finish this up. We have that utility class. Again, same background and same background color are the same thing. All right, I should be consistent though. color is the color of the font, but this is background color. So I'm going to start using that all over the place rather than just background. I like to be consistent. Our operators. I think I called it btn operator. I'm going to double check to be sure. btn operation. Good thing I checked. Can't be consistent, Jeffrey. All right. Oops. Almost finished. For the equal sign. We set up anything for the 0? I was going to actually do that. Okay, so for the 0, I put it in, took it out, put it in, took it out, but just called it btn 0. I want that to be a little bit bigger, the column. All right, hopefully I didn't make any mistakes here. So let's do a file, save all. Let's go back here and let's run it again. See if it looks more like a calculator now. There we go. Well, it's real big, but there we go. So that's what our calculator looks like. It's totally non-operational. Okay. So I mean, you can click it, but nothing's going to happen. We've got our divide, we've got our multiply, we've got our subtract, etc. Now, I don't know with these if they have them as well. What I mean is, it looks like a kind of a big X. So I don't know if there's one for multiply or not, but we'll check. At multiply. Oops, not there. Don't want to do it there. There. I want to replace that with at multiply. Now, we'll be able to tell right away if it changed anything, because I've got the old one up there. I thought I did, and I don't. Okie dokie. Oh, didn't like that, so there isn't one for multiply. That's okay. Just remove it, replace it with that X. Okay, double, just make sure. Now, if I do want that to be a little bit smaller, okay, we've got btn operation. Let's put in there btn multiply. All right. Let's go back to here. Let's make the font size smaller. Let's make it 10 pixels and see what it looks like. Again, I should have left the old one up there, and I did not. No, it's a smaller X. If you don't like that, you can play with it and make it bigger if you want to. Okay, leave it the way it is. I don't mind it that way. All right, so I've now created both the CSS and the HTML. So of course, the next thing to do is to do the JavaScript. Okay, so we'll begin writing that in the next video. I'll see you then.